Happy Friday.
Yeah, you too.
Hopefully we'll have to make sure this drops on a Friday now. All right. Note to self, drop
Right.
this on a Friday. So you came up from Palm Springs.
Yeah, I did. Yep.
How hot is it there right now?
It's pretty hot, like 110 around there.
You're not from there, right?
No, I'm from Minnesota, Minneapolis.
Okay, so really, really cold.
Yep.
And then you moved out here.
Yep.
Did you live in Orange County?
No.
Okay.
That's the goal eventually.
Okay, so you went from there to Palm Springs?
Yep, right after I graduated college.
Wow. Yeah, why Palm Springs?
My husband and I had been going out there for vacation every 6
Mm-hmm.
months, and just kind of fell in love with it, the whole
Yeah.
vibe and everything. And we looked at other places. He had a couple job offers in LA, but I mean, the lifestyle there is
Yeah.
it's too much for us. We're so laid back and chill that it just didn't make sense for us.
Yeah.
And Palm Springs is like the complete opposite of LA,
Yeah.
no traffic and everything is just so, I always say that no matter how much or how little I have to do in a day, it just always feels like vacation.
Oh,
So,
nice. I love it out there. I mean, I go to Joshua Tree a lot, which was it like 45 minutes an hour from Palm
Yeah.
Springs?
Yep. About.
Do you go there very much or is it?
Sometimes like when we have family in town, like I don't, just go for fun or anything, but
Yeah.
it's a cool place to bring family and friends who are visiting.
Yeah. My mom loves to go there when she comes in town from Canada. We'll go and get like a nice Airbnb and just spend a day or two doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
Right.
Well, thanks for being here.
Yeah, for
I'm glad
sure.
you're here. I'm glad we're going to be talking mainly about mental health today.
Yeah.
We need more people talking about their mental health
Yeah.
because there's a huge stigma around mental health and talking about it. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think, sometimes mental health gets, the best of us and it's, um, it's, some of the things that I've done in the past due to my mental health, like I'm not super like proud of. And so it can be difficult to talk about just because, before I had a diagnosis, I thought that was just my personality. I thought I was like a shopaholic and a night owl.
Got it.
And, all the certain like symptoms of bipolar, I just thought that was me, like my quirkiness or,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, I guess it's vulnerable talking about that stuff and
Yeah.
it can be scary. You don't know how people are going to perceive it. Cause like you said, the stigma is very alive and real. And so, yeah, you just never know when you share that type of stuff, how someone is going to perceive it.
Yeah.
But I mean, working in this industry, I have, only experienced support and positivity. And like, I don't think when I was in college, I thought I was going to work in fashion and beauty and to be where I'm at today, in the mental health and substance use disorder recovery industry. It's completely different.
Yeah.
And it's so much more rewarding and I couldn't picture, especially now, working in any other industry.
This is obviously what you were meant to do.
I think so.
When did you feel like you were different? How old were you?
Well, I mean, I knew I was different in elementary school. I was bullied a lot.
Why were you bullied?
I had a more like softer personality, a little bit more feminine of a voice. And I mean, I was called out before I even knew what like gay was,
Okay.
it started in like first grade. I
So
think.
you didn't even realize yet.
I didn't
and
even know
other
what it was.
people were saying stuff to you.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And it wasn't until, the bullying didn't ever stop. And in third grade, my principal had actually given me some advice that if I was gay, being called names was just something I'd have to get used to.
No.
Yeah. And like,
That guy should be fired. That's unbelievable. Because you're young. How old are you?
I'm 31.
Okay. Well, we've talked about this.
Yeah.
You have that baby face.
Yeah.
Still, it's not like you're like 60. Like this is pretty recent that you were being talked to like that. And that should just not. Wow, that makes me mad. Okay, go on.
I mean, as an adult, I
Jesus.
see like where she was coming from. But when you're like a third grader, like I
Yeah.
think that a little different approach, a little bit different wording, because that was her words exactly. I remember it to
Wow.
that day. It was
Wow. Yeah.
surreal. And I think that's when I like realized that, things weren't really going to change. And they didn't until I got older and kind of figured out what I needed to do to
Yeah.
be able to survive. And to give you an idea of how bad it was, I graduated in 2010 from high school. And from 2009 to 2011, there was 9 student suicides, and they were all linked to LGBT bullying.
What?
And just in my school district alone.
Whoa. So talk to me about this area that you were growing up in. I mean, was it very obviously very sheltered? I mean, it wasn't diverse.
Yeah, no, it was half an hour from the Twin Cities north, a little bit smaller of a town, conservative, and just, yeah, not very open-minded or accepting people.
That's so heartbreaking. Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, I think like once I did notice that things weren't getting better, the first time I was hospitalized was in 3rd grade as well. I had told the counselor that I wanted to jump in front of the busy highway in front of my house because the bullying had gotten so bad, and I had to be admitted. Into a hospital, and
Yeah, it was really tough for you.
yeah.
How long were you there for? Like several days?
No, it was I think like over the weekend, and I
Okay.
didn't get a diagnosis at that time, and
So you're struggling with being bullied,
mhm,
you know, struggling with the feelings of being gay,
mhm,
having this mental health.
mhm,
I mean, and you're what, 7, 8?
yeah,
7 or 8 years old.
and my mom was always really sick growing up too. And so at home, I was the caregiver. I had 2 little brothers, and my dad was always busy working. And so I was taking care of my mom and my little brothers. And so at home, I was the caregiver. At school, I wasn't safe. And I think today, like those experiences kind of like shaped me into who I am. And I'm like grateful for those experiences, even though some of them, obviously weren't the best.
Yeah.
But looking back at it now as, a grown man, it makes me proud, I guess, the resiliency.
Right. And
that
that's what I was thinking. I mean, you're so resilient and like you're a miracle to be alive because, a lot of kids would take their life with all of that going on. It wasn't just one thing. You had so many things. I can't imagine how heavy that was on your shoulders.
Yeah. And I mean, unfortunately, it wasn't, when you think of bullying, you think of like the other kids, my classmates. But I actually got bullied by teachers too and threatened. I mean, 5th grade, a student got caught bringing a knife to school, and he had admitted that he wanted to stab me. And so I had to fill out a police report in 5th grade about that. And a teacher, this was in 9th grade, my acting teacher, he had given permission to the whole class to tase me in the throat and shoot me in the kneecaps.
What?
Because I had asked him why he had given me a failing grade in an acting class. I feel like it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
fail an acting class, but I felt targeted.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was,
Wow.
and like, I don't know. I guess it kind of made sense. I mean, I guess we saw like the outcome of that. We did, there was lawsuits about all the student suicides. And they
Yeah.
kind of did, some more digging into it. And there was a district-wide policy for all the staff. And they nicknamed it, not the advocates had nicknamed it the No Homo promo, because anything LGBT related that was brought up in class or from a student, the only thing that the teacher or staff could do was send them to the guidance counselor, which makes you think something's,
Yeah.
wrong.
Right.
And so it just clearly set it up for that hostile environment where, like you said, yeah, a lot of those kids felt like that was their only option out.
I feel like you would do so well going into schools and talking. Have you ever thought about doing that?
People have said that before, and I don't really like see myself as like that type of person, but when I did a previous podcast, I got a lot of, good feedback, and it was like, I'm really hard on myself. I'm probably my toughest critic.
Yeah, same.
But I always surprise myself with the things that I can do.
Yeah.
Like I had a motorcycle license, never thought I would ride a motorcycle. And graduating college was like a big thing for me. I just never thought I would have the opportunity to go because of my school situation before college. I couldn't really concentrate on getting good grades. And so I had horrible grades. And when I did finally decide to try to go to college, I got denied because my grades were so bad. So I went to a community college for 1 year and got straight A's, and then got accepted the following year into college. And I remember sitting in some of those classes and I was like, why did I choose this? I graduated with a degree in professional communication. And, I'm sitting in my media relations class and we're doing like media coaching and like press conferences and stuff like that. And it's just like, am I ever going to get a job? Like I felt so sheltered, probably because of my past experiences.
Yeah.
And it was, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought.
That's okay. Yeah.
So I had an energy drink before this, and so
I did that one time, and I was like, I'll never do that again. And then I had a Frappuccino the other day, and literally the whole time too, I was like, why did I do this again? No, you were saying about like where you were going in career wise.
Oh yeah. So I mean, like I said before, like like this is like the best industry for me because I can go to my boss and I can talk openly about my mental health issues.
Yeah.
And
your story is just so impactful, I think, in all communities, but I can see you speaking at elementary schools in particular. I think you would be so good at that. Don't ever limit yourself. You never know what the future will hold. And people need to hear what you went through.
Yeah,
on a bigger level. I know a few people. We had somebody come on, Tony Hoffman. He goes on over, like, I think he said like over 260 days a year. He goes around the country and speaks at schools, and he's so good at it. And you remind me a lot of him, just in a different way, obviously. What would you say now, as an adult, after doing the work, understanding yourself, loving yourself now, to those teachers back then? Like, if you were sitting in a room with them right now, what would you say?
I would tell them that I made it. I survived, and to never, like, I don't know, like you're a teacher, like, I feel like teachers should
come with love,
Yeah.
and not judgment,
and should have handled it differently. And that was back in like the early or like mid 2000s, like 2005 or whatever. And so the times were different, a lot has changed. But still, I think my mom was always like my biggest supporter, and she helped advocate for me a lot just because
Nice.
I really
Thank God for
couldn't.
that. Yeah.
But I feel like I should have had more
support.
Yeah.
When did you start feeling safe in life?
Oh, when I met my husband,
Okay. How long ago was that?
11 years ago.
Oh, wow. You guys have been together for 11 years.
Married for 7.
That's amazing. So you met him at 20.
Yeah, I was 20 years old, and he's stuck with me through all of my 20s.
Aw.
And, most of that I was undiagnosed. And he cleaned up a lot of my messes, like I said, uncontrollable money spending.
Like, what did that look like exactly?
Well, we had a joint bank account, and at that time I was in school and had like a part-time job, and his checks would go right into the account, and I mean, I would just spend to make me feel good. I mean, it was like all like really materialistic things. It was jewelry and clothes and shoes and like stuff that I thought I needed to make myself feel better. And that's something that I discovered in myself once I was in recovery, is that like I don't need any of that stuff.
Yeah, that's not going to fill the void.
Yeah, and that's what I thought it was doing.
Yeah.
And
I was that way for a long time too. I thought I needed all these things. And of course, it's nice to have nice stuff, right? We like nice things, but not because it's filling some void. We have to be able to love ourselves first and be at peace with ourselves And then those other things are just nice to have.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think I just like recently discovered that in myself. When I turned 30, I kind of fell into a deep depression, you know. And it wasn't until November of last year that I made a promise to myself, I think because of how I was raised and all the adverse experiences. It turned me into like a yes person. Like I would do whatever for whoever just to gain approval or
Oh yeah,
acceptance.
that people
And
pleaser mentality.
yeah,
I was like that for a long time too. Yeah.
and it wasn't until November that I made a promise to myself that I was going to start living for me and doing
Nice.
what makes me happy. So that included working out. I changed my diet. All the junk food in the house is completely gone. It's only, healthy.
What does your husband think about that? Is
Well,
he the same
he's
way?
a little bit. He really likes like Reese's peanut butter cups.
Those are
and
good.
so-
Does he like them cold, like in the fridge or something?
No, he doesn't.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm sure he'll eat them anyway.
He'll
I'm
have it anyway. Yeah.
sure. Yeah. And so, yeah, back to the original question. I didn't feel safe until I met him. Most people don't even think he's gay. He's really masculine, muscles, tattoos.
Yeah, I met him at the party.
Yep.
And yeah, when he said he was your husband, I was like, oh. Or you said I was like, oh. But then you guys are so sweet. So I love that.
Yeah, and like that's, all the violence and all like the stuff I had thrown at me growing up. It wasn't until I met him where it was like, I was secure. If anyone was going to say anything, like he would handle it.
I
and
love
so
that. So when did you actually get diagnosed? Like what were the steps that led up to that?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed bipolar 2 in 2019 after 6 months of outpatient treatment.
Okay. And what led you to go to the treatment?
Well, I had a really scary experience. It was like a Thursday night, and I'm like don't really do nightlife or partying or anything like that. And I remember it specifically. One of the first meals that I ever learned to make was spaghetti, and I made spaghetti that night, and I had actually burnt the sauce, and I've never done that before. I've been making this since I was a kid, and like I just like it was just very like sudden. I just had this urge to go out, and I told my husband, I'm going out, and he was very concerned. He was like, okay, where are you going? And asking questions, and I just went upstairs, and he could hear me pacing back and forth, and I was getting ready, and I went out by myself downtown Palm Springs on Arenas, which is all the gay bars. And I had met up with someone and went back to their hotel room, and I had sex with them. And then I went back to the bar, and I had met another guy and started hooking up with him in the back of my car in the parking lot. And he had taken me by the throat and slammed me in between the two seats. And he was talking about like how good it would feel to kill me.
Holy shit.
And like I just kind of like froze for a second or maybe a couple seconds. I wasn't expecting that at all. And I mean, looking back at it now, like I never would have put myself in that situation, and I was just completely like out of control. It was almost like I blacked out kind of. I was completely sober, no substances or anything, and totally out of character for me.
Yeah.
And obviously more violence from, men. I mean, that's a pattern in my life.
Yeah.
And that's when I knew I needed help. I started looking for a therapist, psychiatrist.
Did you
but
tell your husband like what had happened?
I did.
Yeah.
And then that kind of added to the like, okay, like something needs to happen, and started looking for a therapist and psychiatrist. And it's not an easy thing to do. They're either not accepting new patients, or they don't accept your insurance, or, whatever it may be. It was not easy. And
Yeah.
so I was invited to a New Year's Eve party, Ken Seeley's New Year's Eve party, and through a mutual friend. And my husband and I went to the New Year's Eve party, and my husband had walked up to Ken and thanked him for, all that he's done, because my husband used to watch the show with his mom, and, it helped them like learn all about the disease of addiction.
Yeah, you're talking about intervention.
Yep.
Okay.
And so Ken was, he was super polite, and he invited us over to game night the following weekend. And we went. And so game night, we're sitting at Ken's dinner table, and he just simply asked me like how I was doing. And I was just kind of like sharing a little bit, and I just had this overwhelming somatic response. I was, turned completely red. I was sweating. I felt like I was going to pass out, and I had to excuse myself from the table. I was really embarrassed. It's my first time like actually, meeting this group of people.
Yeah.
And so I stepped outside his house and cried a little bit and composed myself and went back in. And Ken had offered me to come to Ken Suli Communities in Palm Springs. He said, I have a treatment center. This was a Sunday. He said, tomorrow we open up at it's like 7 or 8, and I'll be there if you want to come in, and we'll, see what we can do. And so I was there the next day as soon as they opened.
That's so amazing.
I saw a therapist and psychiatrist within the first hour of being there. And then Ken had asked me if I wanted to join group, and I had no idea what that was.
Yeah.
And so I walked into group with the other clients and was just kind of listening, and how some of these stories can get. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, like, no, this isn't me, like, and it was come my turn to like introduce myself and talk a little bit. And I had said something about how like I don't have an addiction or whatever, and the group leader had told me that it's not about the substances, it's about the behaviors. And that like really like resonated with me. And I was like, oh yeah, you're right. Cause I was so focused on the substances. But then when I looked at the behaviors, I was like, oh, like this is
the same.
Yeah. The same. And so I ended up staying for 6 months.
Wow.
And that's when I was diagnosed and got on medication. And that was not an easy process. But now I'm on a good combination, and I have never been better.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wow. You must just feel like a new person.
Yeah.
Like you got
definitely.
yourself back, essentially.
Yeah. And it was a slow process. Like you said, I mean, no matter how much, how good your medication cocktail is or whatever, I mean, it's going to fluctuate, or things are going to change eventually, or ups and downs. And like I said, when I hit 30, it kind of had, this slump. And then, like I said, in November, I made that promise to myself. And that's when everything like really started.
So how
to
do you
change.
deal with your bad days?
Sleeping.
Self-care, sleeping for you. Yeah.
I'll like seclude myself.
And do you allow yourself to go through that and have that time? Because I know some people are like, nope, just push through it, put on a smile. I mean, are you really open and honest, like with your husband, the people around you, like, hey, this is how I'm feeling right now, and this is what I need to do for myself?
Yeah, and that's what I had to learn to do. That's what treatment had taught me was, to take that time for yourself and to be mindful of my actions and behaviors, and to communicate that with the people that do support me, which is my husband and my coworkers and family and
nice. So I often hear, people that are in a relationship with somebody and they don't quote unquote suffer from any mental health problems. Yeah, maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't know. But they're talking about the person that they're with, and that, they're bipolar or they're borderline or they're depressed or whatever it is. And they have a really hard time with that, and it's like, well, why can't they just not be this way? And, oh, they're just acting out of line and not really understanding and not no fault of theirs, not understanding that there's something going on inside their brain. This isn't just something about them not being tough enough. Oh, just stop doing that. Like, this is an actual, disorder. It's an actual imbalance inside the brain. So what do you suggest? Like, what's your advice to those people out there that are really struggling in a relationship to be with this person because of their behaviors, because of their mental health?
Do your research. That was like my biggest thing, any type of book or online article from a reputable source, I just read as much as I could. And
Yeah.
as I'm reading, it was like putting, getting the diagnosis was the first puzzle piece. And then doing the research once I knew the diagnosis
Yeah.
it was just more puzzle pieces. Like, oh, that's why I do that. Oh, that's why, and it just
Yeah.
all started to make sense. And like I said, it made me more mindful of my actions and behaviors. And that's when everything really started to change.
Yeah. Getting educated,
Yeah.
finding that support system,
Yeah.
having that community around you.
Mm-hmm.
Just like addiction, it's like you feel like you're so unique and alone in this, you know what I mean? No one can understand. And then when you're around other people that are the same as you, it's like, oh, wow. I'm not the only one. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
When I got sober, I was like, nobody had it like I did. And mine is worse than everybody. Like I was so stuck on that. And yeah, I had a hard past, but there were so many people that, instead of looking for the differences, I started looking for the similarities, like what you were saying when you went to that group. And it was just a game changer. So you had to have patience with going through different medications and allowing that process. I know a lot of people struggle with that too. What was your experience going through that, and what advice would you give to anybody out there that's currently going through that and feeling pretty helpless? Like, I don't know if anything's ever going to work for me.
Yeah. So, I mean, with medication, it's never like a fast acting process. You have to really, it's trial and error, and it's not always the funnest with some of the side effects. And, I think you have to, outweigh the pros and cons. And,
Yeah.
there might be some side effects, but at least I'm not like manic and
Exactly.
going crazy. So, you just have to find what really, really works for you. I think finding a good psychiatrist that you really vibe with. I mean, I feel like I said, like once you do finally find a psychiatrist, you don't want to just try and find another one, and like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, like I said, not the easiest thing to do, but like if you're not really vibing with your psychiatrist or, you're not on the same page, then find someone who is.
Yeah. And psychiatrists and psychologists, people get confused with this too. Can you explain the difference between the two when people are looking for somebody?
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure psychiatrists, they deal with the medication, right?
Yep.
And the psychologist is more about like the brain and like the
Therapy part of
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. I know for me, when I was going to see a psychiatrist, it was like a short visit. It was more just like, okay, let's talk about your meds and get you situated. And then there was also a psychologist, as well, that I would see where that's where you go and like have your hour-long therapy. Were you doing both, or were you?
I was just doing the psychiatrist, and I had a therapist too.
Yeah. And so you went for 6 months, and then you went home after. You were living at home?
Yep,
And doing
yep.
outpatient. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Can you explain to people out there that don't know what outpatient is or what going to group is, and they're struggling with their mental health, and they're like, I don't know what this even means?
Yeah, for sure. It's day treatment, so I'm there during the day, and I do stay at home, and I just come during the day, and they have a full schedule for me, and it's filled with groups and different
So you get groups, therapy. Do you
Yeah.
get the case management there?
case
as
management,
Well? Right.
alumni support, and yeah.
So working in treatment now for you, which you didn't think this is what you were going to do, but here you are, and soon to come public speaking in elementary schools, just putting that out there in the universe.
Right.
I like to manifest.
Me too.
What has it given back to you working in this field?
Well, I feel like I've always been like a listener. People kind of come to me to, talk things out or any problems they may be having. And before, there's only so much I could give. I could give advice. And, now when people are struggling, I can get them into treatment. And I have done that. And to have someone come up to you and thank you for helping them get on the right track.
Yeah.
Like nothing feels better.
There's nothing better than that. Like that makes my day every day. Like I've been working in this field now for about 7 years. Then I was a case manager first, and then a life coach, and had a sober living. So I was from more of a clinical background before I started doing this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'll get hit up on Facebook or something, and it'll be like 4 years, and someone will reach out to me and say, remember when, and I'm still sober and I'm doing well. And it's honestly, I'm like, that makes it all worth it. Because there's hard days, working in treatment for anybody out there that wants to go down that road. It's an emotional career. Like there's a lot of things that you can do that, and I've thought like, man, it must be nice. I have those thoughts where it's like you just go, you do your job, and you go home, and there's not like a bunch of emotions tied to it. Yeah. But I know this is what God put on my heart, and I meant to do this and carry the weight of that, right? And be able to know how to like practice self-care and regulate those emotions. But yeah, it's a very emotional career choice, and the burnout is high. I was just talking to somebody about this on the show a couple of weeks ago. I think it's like 8 months for newbies that come in to work in treatment, and they're like, I can't do this, I'm out. Yeah. What do you do for self-care?
Working out is a big thing for me.
Yeah.
And spending time with the people who do support me, my husband, family, friends, just being active in general. Like I find when I'm just like sitting around, like I'm not doing anything productive, and just getting out there. And also my work, going back to that, like I have a lot of respect for all of the clinicians, because a lot of the work I do in PR and marketing is a lot of creative based.
Yeah.
And so I'm not client facing or anything like that. And like you said, it is very taxing on mental health and all of that. And so big props to any of the clinicians in the industry.
I know. Yeah, I agree with you.
And I think that...
Thanks, you guys.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And I think... totally lost my train of thought.
That's okay. So you work for the Infiniti Group, right?
I do.
Can you explain what the Infiniti Group is if someone's looking for treatment? You kind of break down the different programs and how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, so I work for the Infiniti Group. We are a management and acquisition company. So we come into facilities that may or may not be struggling, and we put our processes in place and make them profitable while also providing quality care. I mean, we have 6 facilities throughout Southern California, from Lake Arrowhead down to Palm Springs. And I mean, with all of the different programs, I mean, most of the people who call, we can place them.
Because you have detox, residential, outpatient, mental health.
Yep, and all the insurances. And,
okay. And how can people get a hold of you, or where can they go to look at these websites?
Yeah, for sure. So Infiniti Group LLC.com.
Okay.
You'll be able to, it's all the facilities are linked there.
Okay. And can you spell how it's spelled out? Because I know it's a little different.
So it's INFINITI.
Yes.
No Y.
No Y, people.
No Y.
Yeah. I first was like, what the heck? I can't find them. I was doing it wrong. Yeah.
I have a lot of people who are like, oh, the car company? I was like, no.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, the car company. We do treatment in cars, something different.
Right.
And then how do people find you?
I'm actually only on Facebook.
Okay.
In treatment, I deleted all my social media because I wanted a fresh start.
Nice.
And I just never picked it up again.
Yeah, I did that for like a year, and then I picked it up again. But I totally can relate to how that feels.
Yeah, and it feels good. And like, talking about self-care, I think that's part of my self-care. You know, when I look at some of the posts and stuff, like I find myself like, comparing myself to others, and it's just, I mean, a lot of stats have come out about how unhealthy social media is, or how toxic it can be. And so just to remove myself from that and not have to worry about it.
That's why I try to only use it in a positive way now, because I would get caught up in that space too, and I'm like, why am I doing this?
Right.
And it's not even realistic, what you're seeing. It's like this false sense of these lives people are painting anyways, with all the filters and this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like, it's not even real.
Yeah. I was just talking to a friend, and they're like, posted something. They're like, I just want to get 100 likes on something. And I was like, why does it matter?
Yeah.
Why?
Do you know those people? I don't think so.
Right. Exactly.
So if someone needs to get a hold of you, though, they're watching this, they're like, I need to talk to him. What would be the number to call? Do you have a work line or an email or something you can give out?
Yeah, for sure. You can Email me at ddlepage, it's LAPAGE @gmail. That's
Okay.
my personal email. And
Okay.
yeah, I'm open to talk about whatever, whenever. I Like I had told you before we had started recording, I feel like when someone's an AANA, they really, get to share their story and really perfect it, I guess. And so any opportunity to share it, I'm
Yeah.
more than happy to.
Well, thank you. Your story is pretty remarkable. I didn't
Yeah.
know any of that about you, so I have a whole new respect for you. So thank you. If you guys are struggling with your mental health, addiction, you want to talk to Drew, reach out to him.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.